Welcome to McGuire on Wrestling.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
With Mike McGuire.
Stand up, son. Let me take a good look at you.
This guy's a serious professional.
You know what I want to talk about?
Yeah.
The world of professional wrestling. Do I have your attention now?
Done chilling. I'm done chilling, okay?
Let's get this show on the road.
I love professional wrestling.
We got a big one for you today. Had the chance to sit down with one of the most legendary trainers, wrestlers, comedians, I dare say, because the guy is just funnier than should be allowed in a lot of ways. But Al Snow is going to be on the show today. Of course, Al, part of the ownership and management team of Ohio Valley Wrestling, the Classic Territory. They had that series on Netflix with the wrestlers a while back, taking you through all the adventures of trying to run OVW in the current climate. We talk a bit about that. We talk about his social media. We talk about comedy. And, of course, we talk about wrestling. My apologies, we did not talk a lot about comic books. And I got a few people asking about that because he's got the new comic and he's doing things. But I think you're going to find this conversation worth listening to. Very, very happy with how it went. And also a little nervous because during the conversation, a topic comes up that you and I have talked about before here on the show. But I feel weird going into as much depth as we did, but he was so open and honest about everything, and I thought, there's other people in my situation. The show's called McGuire on Wrestling, but really, the show is me navigating my own life and understanding as a fan, as a fellow member of the pro wrestling community with you, and just trying to make sense of it all in a way that still lets us enjoy it. So we're going to talk to Al about a bunch of great things. Dave Meltzer is here. We'll talk about some of the top headlines, plus a new segment on the show this week. I'm very excited for this. I had put it on the social media a couple weeks ago when they announced that WrestleMania 43 was going to be in Saudi Arabia, and I wanted to take a bunch of calls, and honestly, I still want to take a bunch of calls, but I think I want to space it out a bit, and I want it to be on multiple topics. So we're going to do a new feature on the show called Have Your Say. Not the most original title, but you're listening to a show called McGuire on Wrestling, so you've already made your choice. Nevertheless, Have Your Say is going to be an opportunity for you to have your own segment on the show, talk about whatever you want, and we'll take submissions. We'll do it as often as we can, and we're going to do that today with a guy who is really, really good at articulating points. His name is Kevin Jesus. He's out of Edmonton, Alberta, where, of course, they just had the big TNA shows. I don't know if he went to those or not, but we had this conversation a couple weeks ago, and we talked about WrestleMania in Saudi and why that's not why he's losing interest in the WrestleMania brand. Not the WWE brand, but the WrestleMania brand. So that conversation is coming up for you as well. Quick shill, we do this show for you each and every week, absolutely free. If you'd like to support the show, there's a PayPal page at CelebrateWrestling.com, and you can also shop our merch store. There's some limited stuff there right now, but some more stuff is on its way soon. We have another postal strike in Canada. They've technically been on strike for a while, but they didn't take any job action. Well, this past week, they took job action. So as far as Scott Ainsworth in Australia, I hope to God your shirts at least got out of Canada and are on a boat, in a sea can, or maybe even in a mail carrier's vehicle on their way to your house there in South Australia. Because, I'm really kind of choked that he hasn't gotten his shirts yet, but we're going to figure it out one way or another. If I got to make new ones and send them FedEx or whatever, I don't know how you do it. We'll get it out there, but new shirt's going to be on the way. But yeah, Scott's even said, I don't mind if you want to go ahead and start putting out more shirts. And I said, that's awful nice of you, but nope. Policy is a policy, a rule is a rule, and I want to make sure everybody's got their stuff before we put out new shirts. So, CelebrateWrestling.com is where you can go if you want to support the show. Now, let's move forward with a loaded docket today. We're going to talk all about some of the big news coming out of WWE, some faces that have and haven't been on our screens in a while, and a lot more. Plus, again, a conversation with the iconic Al Snow. But first, let's take a look at some of the biggest stories in the last 7 days. It's the return of the 5 Count.
You want to hear the breaking news?
We start off with a story I've actually wanted to get to for the last couple of weeks here, but it's perfect time to talk about it now. It seems as though AEW and Jazzwares are ceasing their relationship as far as action figure production goes. Now, Jazzwares has a bunch of successful lines, including Star Wars and other toys they've been putting out for years. And the AEW figures were hot sellers for a long time. They've moved into kind of higher-end figures over the last couple of years as well. Of course, if you're an action figure collector and a wrestling fan, it's kind of been the perfect marriage because their stuff has been great. However, there's no official word from either side as to the future of AEW, Jazzwares, or where an AEW merchandise action figure license may be headed. We can say that there are still some pending products with AEW and Jazzwares, but they did also just mark a bunch of their old stock on for half price through their website. So that's usually an indicator that they're clearing out and moving on. TNA Wrestling just wrapped up some TV tapings up in Edmonton, Alberta. Shout out to listener Craig Usher, who was rocking his Celebrate Wrestling t-shirt at the TNA tapings. Also to Sean Draper, who had an old school, I can't believe I'm saying old school already, but McGuire on Wrestling shirt. It was a shirt. You might bring this one back when we get the shirts back going here. But it was the word wrestling, and every letter had a different Canadian province or territory flag on it. It was a really cool shirt. So either way, thanks to those guys for repping at the show. Nevertheless, some injuries did come out of those TNA tapings. Ridge Holland reportedly suffered an ankle or leg injury while wrestling Moose. He was unable to leave the ring on his own weight. And speaking of injuries, AEW reporting through a tweet from Tony Khan that Hologram will be out for the rest of the year. PW Insider confirmed that story earlier on Sunday afternoon. Speaking of TNA in Edmonton, a surprise announcement came out during the Victory Road show, and that was from Ash by Elegance, also formerly known as Dana Brooke. She had this to say:
I'm no longer able to compete and do what I love to do. So with that being said, I'm stepping away from in-ring competition. And with a heavy heart, I have to forfeit this title.
Ash by Elegance, real name Ashley Mae Sabera, had been enjoying a pretty hot run in TNA wrestling. There's no news as to why she is retiring, but we wish her the very best. Well, what is next for NXT's Oba Femi? This past weekend, he dropped the NXT championship to Ricky Saints. At just 27 years of age, he stands almost 2 meters tall and weighs over 300 pounds. That's his build weight anyways, and you look at him, it's hard not to believe it. He's also from Lagos, Nigeria, which is the same part of Nigeria that Omos is from. Now, I'm not saying you got to stick the two Nigerian giants together here, but what if you did? I don't know what the future holds for Oba Femi. He might be still sticking around for the TNA NXT invasion that is also going to be taking place in the next couple weeks in NXT. It seems to be the sky is the limit for the former NXT champion and longest reigning NXT North American champion. And finally, the film we talked about on this very show with Champagne Raj Singh a few weeks back has made its premiere at the Calgary and Edmonton International Film Festivals. Sings in the Ring is a Crave documentary that focuses on the lives of the great Gamma Singh as well as his son Raj, who is a friend of our show and buddy of mine. But nevertheless, the movie tells an amazing story about the Stampede Wrestling icon, the Great Gamma, as well as his brief stint in the WWE, why he left, and features guest appearances by Bret Hart, Lance Storm, Jinder Mahal, Chelsea Green, and many, many more. I'll tell you right now, it will be available on Crave in Canada soon, but if you get your chance to get your hands on a link or even a DVD of this thing, if they put them out, do it. You're listening to McGuire on Wrestling. Coming up next, have your say with our first listener guest, Kevin Jesus. We're going to go back to talking about the WrestleMania in Saudi announcement, as well as WrestleMania feeling special as a whole. There's been some fans saying that it's just not there anymore, and Kevin's one of them. He's going to have his say, plus Dave Meltzer on the show, and Al Snow, all coming up.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
CKXUFM 88.3 in Lethbridge is Southern Alberta's true alternative radio station.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
Proudly carrying McGuire on Wrestling every week.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something different to listen to,
This is going to be a slobber knocker!
Check out our NCRA award-winning lineup of programs or stream us anytime at ckxu.com.
In 2027, we are proud to announce that WrestleMania 43 will take place in Saudi Arabia as part of Riyadh season.
Welcome back to McGuire on Wrestling.
Of course, that was the announcement by Paul Triple H Levesque a couple weeks back saying that WrestleMania 43 would in fact be moving out of continental North America and going all the way to Saudi Arabia. Now that triggered a bunch of different responses and reactions, although now that the dust has settled, a lot of people are still just kind of wondering what WrestleMania is going to look like in the future, period. Joining us now on the show for our first edition of Have Your Say, he's an old friend of mine, but he's also an experienced sports broadcaster. He's a television producer, and now he finds himself as a wrestling fan, kind of trying to find his way with WrestleMania specifically. Kevin G's is on the line. How are you, sir?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Really good. Thanks for being part of the show. Okay, WrestleMania in Saudi. Some people say it feels way different. Other people say, whatever, I'm still going to watch. Where do you sit on this thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I'll probably pay attention to it, but am I going to sit down and watch it? I don't know. And that's not necessarily because of the Saudi thing. I think it comes down to WrestleMania just isn't as special as it used to be. And it has become too much of a business, if you will, which I mean, hey, I can't blame the WWE TKO.
Right.
I mean, good on them. They're trying to maximize their profits. And if you can do it, if the demand is there, then why not? However, when you have, WrestleMania now spilling into over 2 days, that's now a big commitment you're asking from your fans to give to watch this prestigious event, an event that used to be, 3-4 hours long, and it was the best of the best. Now it's just full of commercials, promos, and then you're just filling in matches left, right, and center. Some of them don't even have that magic to it like it used to be. WrestleMania was appointment viewing.
I want to stick with that for a second, though. What was the most magical Mania for you? You must have a favorite.
Oh, man, that's a great question. I mean, as a kid, I loved WrestleMania 6 in Toronto, obviously. Hogan Warrior, I mean, that was just classic.
Right.
Just the two greatest superstars facing off against each other was pretty incredible. I would have to really, now you're putting me on the spot having to think about it. You can think of so many different matches. You can think of some great matches of Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. As much as Flair was older, it still had so much of that magic. I mean, I will say Hogan Rock, that iconic moment in Toronto was fantastic. Are you still going to get that iconic moment in Saudi Arabia with The Undertaker, say, versus Stone Cold Steve Austin or something like that? No, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you want guys who are, and women, of course, who are at the top of their game, who have worked so hard to get to this moment. This is supposed to be the showcase, the culmination of a year of hard work, and now it's just another PLE. And if you're asking people who are so busy right now in their lives, and there's so many other entertainment options, to give up 2 days to watch all of this, add in all the other things around it, including the Saudi Arabia portion and so forth, it makes it a tough ask.
You and I remember WrestleMania 6, maybe WrestleMania 5, maybe WrestleMania 4, right? This will be WrestleMania 43. It's disgusting when you think about the math behind this, okay?
Yeah.
But we had those moments. There was a lot less of everything out there. We're in a society, in a world where a lot of it is, hey, grab your attention now theater, as opposed to let's watch this one thing and talk about the same thing for 6 months afterwards.
Yeah.
So is it so much the lessening of the special feel of WrestleMania, or if you look back even in the last 5 years or so, because people in the last couple of years have been saying that WrestleMania has lost its shine. I said ever since they went to 2 days, it was too much. It should still just be a one-day thing. Doesn't need to be 5 hours. But again, it's an argument, too, for those people that say, well, WrestleMania as an event is the moneymaker, but you will get those iconic moments. I always get heat for saying WrestleMania 18 was my favorite Mania. A, I was there. B, Hogan Rock. The rest of that Mania, kind of a stinker, though. Right?
Yeah.
Are we now the old guys in the room sitting here going, oh, I remember when the whole thing was special? Or are we using Mania just to find those platform moments?
Yeah, and you're right, because when you look back at some of those earlier WrestleManias, there would certainly be like a good 10-15 minute portion where it would just be back to back to back to back interviews, and as they're just kind of buying time to kind of bring the crowd down or whatever, that was their way of doing pacing. But it's interesting that you say that it was when WrestleMania switched to 2 days that's when you thought, or some people think, that it started to diminish. For me, it was when a little bit before then, when it started creeping up in time, when it started going to like 6 hours and started going to 7 hours. Again, that is a big commitment that you're asking from people. So yeah, sure, you can say, well, what about the Super Bowl? The Super Bowl, they start their pregame coverage, at like 9 in the morning. Kickoff is at 4 in the afternoon, and then away you go. But realistically, aside from the hardcores, you're really only tuning in for maybe an hour before the game, or even like 20 half hour before the game, and then you're watching the game going forward. 4 hours, there it is. It's got your attention. But doing it over 2 days, I think that's a big problem. And again, I go back to, yes, some of those WrestleManias, were there matches that were fillers? Were there matches that just, you look back at it, how did that make WrestleMania? 100%. You're always going to find that. There's never going to be the perfect pay-per-view. However, there was that aura around it that this is WrestleMania. This is a big moment. And now you're losing that, the 2 day thing, and the fact that when you look at some of those prices, it's always been one on my bucket list to want to go to WrestleMania. When I look at I'm sorry, I'm not paying that price to be sitting all the way up in the nosebleeds. Like when I went to Backlash when it was in Edmonton in 2004, I think I paid like $250, $300 to sit third row from the ring facing the camera. Like, it was fantastic. Now, obviously, times have changed. Obviously, prices are going to go up. But the prices that they're charging now, I can tell you, as a lifelong fan, I can't tell you the last event that I went to. I can't tell you the last event I actually sat down and watched beginning to end. And, but I'll still go and watch older events or older, Raws or Royal Rumbles or whatever, because to me, those still carry meaning. And maybe it's because I'm not as connected. I don't know. Do I want to watch Finn Balor? Do I want to watch Johnny Gargano? Absolutely. Love those guys, but not at these prices.
All right. Well, Kevin G's in Edmonton. There you go. Remember these ticket price complaints next time you get your Oiler tickets. But in the meantime, my friend.
Hey, let me tell you. We actually gave up our season tickets because the Oilers, the prices were going too high. So I'm drawing lines in the sand now, because you are taking advantage of fans who have been there from the very beginning, and that's how I feel about the Oilers right now, and that's how I also feel about the WWE. You're taking advantage of the fans that were there when wrestling was terrible back in like the early the 92 to like 96 era. And
how dare you besmirch Man Mountain Rock? I will not have this.
Repo Man will repossess all of those belts behind you.
Kevin, so again, it's not so much the Saudi thing for you, but definitely just the money and the feel overall then.
It's just doesn't feel right.
It's time for the Wrestling Observer Insider with Dave Meltzer, McGuire on Wrestling.
Lots still going on as we get ready for more shows and more big specials, and we just got over all the big specials last week.
Last week was a real important week.
Yeah, I didn't get to talk to you a lot about it, so what were your thoughts coming out of that weekend?
Oh, man, there's so much. And the key thing we learned is that AEW is probably better off running shows in the afternoon than at night. So, of course, the next 3 shows are at night. Because they do such long shows, they don't feel as long in the afternoon. Like I got less complaints about a 6-hour show than I usually get about a 5-hour show. And I think it's because it was in the afternoon. And the same thing happened the previous 2 shows. They went really long and nobody really complained about, I won't say nobody, but the complaints about the time were a lot less than at night. And also for the UK market, in Europe, all of Europe, it's a much better time slot. So I think that the irony of everything is that in the WWE's attempt to make them miserable, I think that it taught them something, and they probably benefited. The other one is that I don't think it's good for WWE to run a show. WWE's audience is very different from AEW's audience, but there is a crossover. And to the crossover audience, if you watch AEW first and then WWE, WWE seems very slow and patterned, and I don't think that's what you want your wrestling to look like. So that's not beneficial. I mean, WWE, the only stuff I have is the Netflix numbers, and the Netflix numbers, because the ESPN, they didn't release anything. I talked with them about it. They said they were going to tell me. They didn't. So yeah, I would say that they're certainly not wanting those, whatever the real numbers are, out, but the Netflix numbers for that show were very good. That's a good thing. It appears the AEW numbers are good. I mean, so much of it's Max now, so it's harder to tell because everything else is going to be down and Max is going to be up. So it's a lot harder. But I mean, Tony Khan said that it was either the second or third biggest of the year, so it's a success if that's the case.
So going into that show in Toronto, Tony Khan had a media call. I hopped on it. I was second in line, and when you're early in those calls, I find that if you hit him with too hard of a question that's off topic, that he's just going to shut you down right away. So I didn't jump right into the Saudi question that time, but I did talk to him about something else that he's been lauding a lot lately, and that was a lot of his wrestlers like Ricochet and others on social media have been saying, well, if you're feeling priced out by WWE right now, AEW is your family alternative. So I asked him, I was trying to ask him if he was going to look at modifying the product at all to try and capitalize on that family base, whereas he just zoned in on, well, the prices are family friendly.
The product was the same product. Yeah. I mean, it was like the Moxley Darby Allin match. I mean, it was what, look, you know what it's going to be going in, but that's what it was. They're not cutting back on blood. I mean, they're limiting it in the sense of, I think there was only blood in a couple of the matches. And I think that they limit the blood now to when it's not like it's as bad as it was before as far as the blood goes, but they're not going to eliminate it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like what you would call PG product, they're not going to be that. Because I think one of the things with the alternative is that, they see that as something that's different, is that they can go farther or will go farther than WWE will go. So I think. Do
you think it would benefit them to maybe have like a brand where they maybe lighten up on stuff a bit, or is that just asking too much?
Yeah, if it's Ring of Honor. If they can get Ring of Honor on TV, and actually that wouldn't be the worst. But the Ring of Honor thing, I think that the whole concept of Ring of Honor is just high work rate wrestling.
Yeah.
And sometimes that will lead to some blood, but it doesn't have to be like, you can do blood in like one of the matches on the pay-per-view. I don't think anyone will complain at this stage of the game. And they don't do blood on Ring of Honor TV that much. So
no, and blood in Ring of Honor is usually credited to something in the match more less than a spectacle, like you're not going to an ROH show to watch two guys maim each other. You know what I mean?
For the most part, no, you're not. I mean, they really, try to concentrate on, code of honor and things like that. I mean, so you could say that. I mean, the problem with Ring of Honor is that it's a very small specialized audience that's watching these days. It's a full-time job trying to keep up on wrestling TV, which is why it's hard for somebody new to move in.
I just saw a social media post today. A fan sign was removed from one of I can't tell if it was a pre-show or a post-show, but the guy went to Twitter to say that his sign was removed. He's basically criticizing TKO prices and saying that WWE is being greedy now with ticket prices.
Well, WWE is going to do that.
No, I get they're going to remove the sign, but the fact that fans are now taking the time to make signs about it, yet still going to the show. Yeah, right. Which is also a point of this.
I mean, in fact, I actually heard about that from some people who were kind of like laughing about it, going like, if you want to tell them to lower prices, the way you do it is not go to the show.
Right.
Once the building starts being half full, the prices the prices are going to be what the market will bear for everyone. I mean, it's like with AEW, they're not pricing lower to be family friendly. They're pricing lower because that's the price that people will pay for the product. I mean, they're not selling buildings out unless it's the small buildings. So there's no point in, increasing the price. People are willing to pay way, way more for WWE. I mean, the Toronto show versus the Indianapolis show. I mean, I covered the secondary market the last couple of weeks. It's huge difference. I mean, people are willing to pay 4 times as much, if not more, for WWE tickets. And that's why WWE tickets, they're not 4 times as much, but they're more than double, because people are going to pay it. So, I mean, it's a credit to WWE that they have enough people who are willing to pay that money. And a lot of people, I mean, I've heard so much complaints about WWE prices. I've heard so much complaints about UFC prices. Now, yesterday they had the show in Perth, which was UFC show, and they had to discount the prices a lot because, they were going to have an empty upper deck. So they cut the prices down. That's what happens. if people don't buy tickets, they will cut the prices. If the place is sold out, they're not going to cut the prices. And you can bring all the signs you want that complain about it.
Yeah.
If you're paying for tickets and you're bringing a sign, it ain't going to change.
Yeah.
It's not going to lower the prices.
You're kind of fighting against yourself in that time. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Show-wise, the tempo did feel a lot slower, especially after watching All Out. But still, a lot of the talk was obviously Brock Lesnar, the Cena thing. What's next for Brock now? What are we doing with this guy? Have you heard anything?
I think long-term, probably Jacob Fatu or Braun Breaker, but probably in those cases, we're probably a long, long way for that. Beating John Cena, to me, should set him up for a championship run, or championship match. And that's Cody. It's not going to be on this pay-per-view because I don't think Brock's even on this pay-per-view, but maybe that's a Survivor Series. But that's what I would think. If you're going to beat John Cena, it should lead to something big. It shouldn't be just, we're going to do it, and I don't think that they would.
Where's Gunther?
I had heard he's about to be cleared. So it's just a question of when they want to bring him back.
Because remember that was always the talk, right? It was Gunther and Brock, and then
there was that was going to be WrestleMania in 2024,
right?
The original plan, yeah,
right. And now there's scuttlebutt that Braun Breaker could be the guy, but it's just kind of interesting to see.
Could be good, but it could be Gunther. I don't see WWE having Gunther as the guy to beat Brock Lesnar. I think that the guy who beats Brock Lesnar is going to be someone a little bit younger and someone who they see as like a really big future star. I know that Jacob's not that, Jacob's not as young as Braun Breaker, but Gunther, Gunther's not a young guy either. It was me, I think that you leverage that big Brock Lesnar loss to somebody who you think is in his mid to late 20s, who you think is going to have a really big long run, rather than just beat him for the sake of beating him.
We're talking to Dave Meltzer here on McGuire on Wrestling on the radio and online through CelebrateWrestling.com. Just look up Celebrate Wrestling wherever you get your podcast or listen every week here on the radio as well. Dave, Crown Jewel is WWE's next big show in Perth. We're kind of alluding to it with UFC having their weekend there this weekend. We've got these matches again for brand supremacy or champion superiority, I suppose. For Seth, I see many, many paths he can go down after this best champion of champions match is done. Is Cody kind of just spinning his wheels right now?
Well, if he has Lesnar, then he's not. But aside from that, maybe they could bring in an Obafemi. McIntyre was the guy, and Cody did beat him in the first meeting.
Yeah.
So he was like the one that was, kind of clean there. I suppose they could put Gunther on that side. Probably the best to do because Cody does need opponents. So, then there'd be new opponents. Although Cody did beat Gunther last year, but it was a year ago. So.
Okay.
Yeah, there's always guys, Jacob's a babyface. Cody and Jacob would have been a really good program, but Jacob's a babyface, so I don't see that one happening. Although, you can still do it. They do babyface all the time.
You mentioned an interesting name I'm going to bring up after our break here. We're talking to Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer and WrestlingObserver.com. More McGuire on Wrestling coming up in just a moment.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
Legends and Champions is your weekly fix to go old school, looking at the classic world of professional wrestling. From Hulk Hogan to the Hitman Bret Hart to the Icon Sting to the total package Lex Luger. We have it all each and every week on Legends and Champions, part of the Celebrate Wrestling Network. And it's available on a Wednesday with me, Andy Evans. See you there.
Welcome back to McGuire on Wrestling.
We're back with the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer. Dave, we were just talking about where Cody can go after his Crown Jewel match with Seth Rollins to be the champion of champions or whatever the heck they call it. And you brought up the name Oba Femi. Oba just dropped the NXT title to Ricky Saints this past weekend at NXT's No Mercy show. They've got a thing going on with TNA Wrestling. Of course, they were just here in Alberta, and we'll talk about that in a second as well. But, even watching Obafemi against Ricky Saints, I love Ricky, like I always have. I think he's great for a lot of reasons. But, Obafemi, definitely a main roster guy. But, he's also in that, freak show category now, isn't he? Like, he's just so big and just so...
Big agile guy, yeah.
Yeah. So, are we taking him to the main roster? And if so, what are we doing with him?
I don't know if he's going to the main roster now. Obviously, he should be going to the main roster soon. I think he's... I don't know if he's fully ready, but he's not far. Because, one of the things with those guys, and it's the same thing with Trick Williams, is like Trick Williams is a talker. and as a charismatic performer, is ready for the main roster. But I don't think you want to debut him until he's ready match quality wise. And I think the trick is still improving match quality wise, because if he comes in and doesn't have great matches, you kind of end up slotted low. You know what I mean? Especially now. So with Oba, the same thing. It's like, yeah, they can, in NXT, they could have him go and squash people. But in the main roster, when it comes to, most of those guys, anyone above mid-level, he's not going to squash. You don't want him to come in and not be super impressive. You want him to come in and be able to be as good as he's going to be at the start, rather than, because first impression on the main roster is so important. But I think he'd be ready, and I think people would be interested in him. He's been in NXT long enough, and, yeah, I could see him as a major star.
Do you think he's more ready now for the main roster than, well, let's do a couple names first. Let's do Carmelo Hayes.
Carmelo Hayes as an all-around performer was more ready. But Carmelo Hayes didn't have the upside potential. And when Carmelo Hayes came to the main roster, I would say that a lot of people, I think he's about where I expect him to be, but I think a lot of people had hoped for him to be higher.
And again, it's hard to compare these people because they're so different, but would you say that Oba Femi is more ready for the main roster now than maybe Tiffany Stratton was when she got called up?
Tiffany Stratton was more impressive because of her athleticism and gymnastics background.
Right.
Yes, I think Tiffany Stratton was a little bit more ready as far as the all-around match, but with the women, it's ridiculous to compare because
I know it's apples and oranges, right?
Like it's so completely different.
Yeah.
And with Tiffany, they wanted to rush her up because of basically her looks and the fact that she's a good enough athlete. And the problem with her is that the promos aren't great. Oba's promos are better. So if you look at it that way, Oba's promos are better. But Tiffany kind of looks like a star in a way. Oba does too. I was higher on Tiffany from her NXT work than Oba in the NXT work. But main roster work and NXT work are different because NXT work, there's so much practice that you get during the week. Main roster, you don't really get that kind of practice. And then sometimes with people, without that practice, you see that they're not quite as good as you thought they were.
Talking to Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer and WrestlingObserver.com. Dave, I love bringing this question up every once in a while, and it kind of bugs me that I have to bring this question up every once in a while, but it seems to be a frequent question. Who is the guy in AEW right now? The guy or girl? Who's running that show right now?
Adam Page and Toni Storm are still the top stars in my mind, even though Toni Storm doesn't have the title. It's just, you don't want people to have endless title reigns. But yeah, I would say that's who I would say right now. I think Adam Page is doing a great job. I think Kyle Fletcher's the heir apparent. I think, Will Ospreay will be up there when he comes back, but that's a long way away. And Moxley's always there, of course, always there right at the top.
Right.
And then on the women's side, Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné are the two big stars, no matter who has the belts.
The whole Toni Storm situation, again, she's someone now who I think has reached that level of transcending needing the championship to be the star, right? But
yeah, she doesn't need the title. But I think that as a general rule, you want Toni Storm or Mercedes Moné to be in the championship matches, or else they're not as big.
Mark Briscoe, does he have a shot at being the guy, you think?
No.
Why not?
I really like Mark Briscoe.
Why not?
Not the top guy. A guy in the mix, a guy who, he had a fantastic match with MJF and won. To me, that means he should get, if you beat MJF, you know what I mean? To me, that's like he should be getting a championship match too. I don't feel Adam Page and Mark Briscoe's a pay-per-view match, but, Adam Page and Kyle Fletcher turned out to be one, so I'm not nearly as strong on that now. I think maybe it's good enough to be a big pay-per-view main event. He should get a championship match with Adam Page at some point, whether it's TV or pay-per-view. But as far as being the guy to be Adam Page, I don't think he's the guy.
So because of that, though, you just said if you beat MJF, you deserve a title shot. Doesn't that still kind of make MJF the guy, even though he's not in such a prominent role right now?
He's a guy. He is a top guy, and he should be. MJF had a weekend, last week. He had one of those an all-time weekend.
Yeah, killer
weekend. Dorado both. It was actually both of them. They worked Friday night in Mexico, flew all night, got to Toronto, and both had killer matches.
Adam Copeland, people got excited for a minute there thinking, is his deal done? Can he be one of Cena's final matches? We found out that's not true. That can't be the case. But Cope now taking a break as well. Who do you see as filling these voids right now of an MJF and an Adam Copeland? Who's going to be?
Got a lot of depth. Omega's going to be back this Wednesday, and they, there's so many people that they have that, that are like on the bench that are really talented. I mean, they kind of put, not that Ace Austin can fill the void of Adam Copeland. That's ridiculous. But, it's like another guy. I mean, Eddie Kingston's back. I mean, they have the talent to fill a 5-hour pay-per-view with good matches. So the talent is not an issue. I mean, Adam Copeland is, he's a really good guy to have on. I mean, the thing with Adam Copeland is that, even at his age, he works so hard. You can tell he really absolutely loves the business, but he's not a necessity. No one is. I mean, that's the one thing AEW's learned, and to a degree, WWE as well, is that they have important people, but AEW lost Ospreay and Strickland, and they're still doing fine. Cody got hurt. I mean, you got to make changes. It's not like it doesn't hurt, but WWE is going to be fine no matter who's there and who's not there.
Last thing before I let you go here, Dave, I want to let you know that that Sings in the Ring movie came out. I went to the premiere over the weekend here up in Calgary, and it's the life of the great Gamma from Stampede Wrestling, and of course his son Raj Singh from TNA, Maple Leaf Pro and whatnot. And I'm going to see if we can get you a link to it, because it is going to be on Crave here in Canada. I'm not sure if that means it'll make its way in Max or whatever in the future, but what a story, what a show. Okay. Yeah, really well done. Plus, they got some guy doing a call on one of the matches towards the end there. But nevertheless,
you seen the Sabu movie?
I have, yeah.
No, how's that? Because I do have a link to that, but I haven't had a chance to watch it.
It's you know what? It's emotional. It's probably more emotional than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Especially from a guy that was always so quiet. But yeah, I mean, obviously and maybe it's just the timing. With everything going on with him passing, but I've been consuming a lot of wrestling media lately. I got Brian Solomon on next week, and I don't know if you saw that Gorilla book, but it's like this thick, like it's like Brett's book. It's insane.
Really?
Oh yeah, the detail he's gone into
I would expect that I'll get it, but I don't have it yet.
The detail he's gone into for a guy he never knew, like the research is incredible. Like he did
the Sheik book.
Yeah,
he never knew the Sheik.
Yep.
And the Sheik book was fantastic.
Yeah, I've got that one too. This Gorilla one, like talk about, and the importance that Gorilla had to the WWF and everything else. I mean, well after he was done wrestling, obviously. For us kids that just knew him as the happy-go-lucky commentator, like, geez, man, to learn all these stories, it's unreal.
Yeah.
So, all right, Dave. Well, thank you very much. We'll catch you again next week.
Okay. Have a great week.
Yeah, if you want to watch that Sabu documentary, it circles around his last match. It's on Kinema.com, so Kinema with a K. But coming up in just a moment, we're going inside the head of Al Snow. This is a conversation you won't want to miss. Thanks so much for being here.
This is McGuire on Wrestling.
The alternate commentary table, ACT, brought to you by the Celebrate Wrestling podcast feed. Listen, it's Mitch, it's Dimitri. We got this little pod thing that we do every single week where we talk about the week in wrestling and the way in which we do it from the other side of the railing. Right, Mitch?
I like that.
We're coming at it because we love it. We hate it. The alternate commentary table, ACT. Download it anywhere where you're getting your podcasts. Cha-cha!
What does everybody want?
Welcome back to McGuire on Wrestling.
What does everybody need?
I was trying to nail down the year. I want to say maybe 06.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. I'm not good with that kind of stuff anymore. A lot of the CTE thing's a real deal, apparently. So, yeah.
It was Al Snow and Christian Cage for the Prairie Wrestling Alliance in Edmonton, Alberta. That's where I first had the pleasure of meeting and working with you then.
Yeah.
And you had the entire locker room in stitches for the entire day, night, and little do you know, for years to come afterwards, at the expense of a guy named Scotty Putty.
Scotty was a unique individual, to say the least, and a wonderful guy and a good sport, and we had a good time that day at Scotty's expense. So if you're listening, Scotty, I'm sorry, but
I'm sending this directly to him first, just so he knows. But
you've now reached legendary status, so you're welcome.
I think for anybody that was there, it became that. But that's one of those things where you don't you don't know what goes on sometimes in these shows, but sometimes a name like yourself comes in, and it's great to see it, sort of thing. You come and do the work, and other times you really endeared yourself to everybody that night. So it's greatly appreciated because, again, here I am, how many years later, talking about it.
I hope so. I mean, I want. It's we get into the wrestling business because it's fun, and I think people sometimes forget because they get so caught up in and take it so seriously, and it's like, you just think about it. You're a grown man and you're about to walk out in front of an audience and fake fight another grown man in your underwear for money, and it's like, so why not have a good time? Just
and
have
everybody's
fun.
in on it too. That's the thing, right? Like,
everyone is known. At least in the United States since the late 30s, and we've all had the audience and ourselves have had this unspoken agreement of, we know and we know that we know, and we agree we won't make you either feel stupid for doing it. So
it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. That's why we kind of pivoted and we branded our stuff as Celebrate Wrestling, because I think it's exactly that. Sometimes fans and maybe even people in the business, you'd be more akin to speak to that part, but it is just that, we're taking things a little too seriously, and you got to remember to lead with fun. I know that's with the radio business, that's kind of the same thing.
Same thing,
fun, but organized and know what you're doing. But at the same time,
the choice is you get to be an accountant. And no heat against the accountants. We need them
for yourself.
But but I'd rather be a wrestler than be an accountant.
That's fair.
They'd probably make more money, but neither here nor there.
Well, it's great to see you again. You're sporting the OVW shirt. I mean, a lot of people around the world got to know OVW in a whole different light with the Netflix series a while back.
Yeah.
How are things since then? I mean, is it still
going?
Yeah.
We're it's always a work in progress. It never is easy. You guys know, and you do what you can with what you have, and you take the number one rule of this business, which is to take caca and make shoe polish, no matter what you're given, and we do that there better than anywhere else. So
I think that's a brag.
Believe me, it's a brag. I mean, if you had any idea the number of challenges each week that we face, that sometimes it's like, really, come on, this too. It's amazing that we can. Every Thursday night after we get done doing live television, I look around and I go, I don't know how we do this. I really have no idea how we pull this off, but we do. So,
well, and again, not to try and draw too many similarities, but I mean, I've been around wrestling longer than I've been around radio, and I've been around a lot of comedians as well, and I want to talk about comedy with you in a bit too. But it's one of those things where I don't think people that don't do these things realize sometimes how on the fly, even though you have a plan, even though you have an idea, but it is that base set of skills in the back of your brain that kind of gets you through a week, right?
Yeah, you really have to. The one talent that you really need to cultivate is problem solving, and knowing how to pivot and react, and then literally being handed a pile and then making it into something that nobody outside of your sphere realized you were doing.
I hate asking this question. I don't do it out of any other reason than to just paint the picture here. But how many years in wrestling is it now for you?
I'll be going on in May. I'll be my 44th year.
Okay.
I'm on 43 and a half right now. So, it'll be 44. I think I added up. It's like 5 different decades right now. So
wow. That's impressive.
It just means I'm old.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. You're older than I am. I look like hell. You're fantastic. Like, you're looking really good, dude.
I look great in the dark. Turn the lights off. The darker it gets, the more amazing I look.
I'm also
told my wife the other night I was naked, and I was like, hey, you ready for about 260 pounds of dynamite? And she was like, I didn't know it had a short fuse like that. I was like, thanks, sweetheart.
We'll go back to wrestling then, but this is exactly another thing I want to ask you, and I'm sure you've been asked before. Your social media.
Yeah.
your one-liners. Is this all you?
No, I wish it was.
Okay.
A lot of it is. A lot of it's stuff that, like, especially my wife, the Jessica jokes.
Yeah.
Because that's usually from that day an actual genuine experience where she just looks at me like, what is wrong with you? Like, I made a joke about the neighbor coming over, and I was like, I don't understand your accent, and Jessica was like, he's deaf, and I went just to mess with her. I went, I'm sorry, I don't understand your accent, and she just threw her hands up and marched into the kitchen. Well, it's not like he was going to hear me, so
I can't argue it. I mean, it checks out, but
I thought it was funny. Then she asked me that one day. She goes, "You're at the store. Can you pick up some milk?" And I went, "Yeah, I don't think it weighs any more than the one here in the refrigerator." And she just like gets disgusted.
I've shared and reposted probably more of your jokes than probably any other wrestler just because of that. Because I mean, it's just some fun stuff, man.
Yeah, some people I find once in a while find something I think, oh, that's funny, and it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So I'll put it up, or somebody will send me something and it'll make me laugh. And I'm like, everybody puts all kinds of negative stuff up, so I'm like, why do that? I just want to put stuff up and make people smile, and a lot of people do come up and are like, hey, you know what, that I really appreciate that. But there were days I've been like, I really needed that just for a moment, that just stupid comment.
If you're not following Al Snow on social media, first of all, you should be, but secondly, it's nothing but great stuff. And I will see like wrestling plugs, obviously, but the rest of the time it's exactly that. I mean, you don't dive into a lot of the stuff that a lot of people get tempted into. Is that kind of a personal mantra too? Like, I don't see you being like active in like political realms or anything like that, right? Like,
why?
Yeah. Well, some people will tell you like they live and die by it, right?
Well, and for them, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I personally, there's so many other great things to, and stuff to worry about that why get caught up in that? I'd rather post that all underwear is edible if you're man enough. And that's the kind of stuff that you're like, you stop for a moment and you're like, that's good to know. Like, I needed that.
You know what? That is almost a personal challenge. If you're out there listening right now, we're talking to Al Snow, and he's giving us some good goals to set for you.
Life advice, Some of it you got to chew a little harder on, but,
I've talked to a number of different wrestlers through the years. I've had all different levels of stardom, and also guys that are known especially for training and helping younger wrestlers along the way. I just had Brian Kendrick on the show actually a little while ago. Bret Hart's been on the show before. Like all these guys, and people go experience. For you, when you come into a show like this, how many of the guys these days are asking you to watch their matches?
Not many.
Does that bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me. Some people tell me, well, you're intimidating, which I don't find myself at all. But I guess maybe they don't want to approach me or don't want to ask me. I'm more than happy to, if they want to ask questions or they do want me to watch. If I get the chance, I will, and I'll try to give them direction or instruction or an idea of what they could do better. But it's, I don't know. I sit and I have no problem if anybody comes up and wants to, but not really a whole lot do a lot of times.
No, and that's fair. That's fair too. I mean, that's something that I've heard from a few different wrestlers of different experience saying, it's some are kind of disappointed and some are like whatever.
Hey, look, all I'm going to do is I'm going to give advice. Mm-hmm. All right. And I've learned this with my kids because I have 6 of them. Why? I don't know. I don't own a farm or anything, I could use them like serfs out planting in the fields. But I have 6 kids, and I've learned as I've gotten older and they've gotten older, like you get to a certain point in your life, all I can do is now give advice. And I tell them all the same thing. I'm like, if they ask my opinion, I'll give it to them.
Yeah.
And I'll give you advice. But here's the caveat with advice. If you're smart enough, I probably don't need to tell you. If you're dumb enough, you're probably not going to listen.
Not going to listen.
So why are we doing this? You know?
So on that, I mean, there's wrestlers of all different ilk out there. There's critics and people that have opinions of all different ilk as well.
Yeah.
Are you one of these people that you've kind of accepted the new style we see, where if it's going to be a lot of higher risk, high impact stuff?
I don't mind. I don't mind any of that. I mean, here's all you know
what I mean, though. Some people really do, right? So
I don't. I mean, I appreciate the athleticism and the skill of it. But saying that, I understand more than the young guys do, that every time they walk in there's an inherent risk that they could have a life-altering or life-ending injury. So all I ask is if you're going to do it and get not a holy whatever chant. Don't just get a chant. Get an emotional reaction. Get something that's going to they're going to remember that experience, is going to now motivate them to want to pay to see you in greater numbers. Otherwise, why are you doing it? It's a waste of time, and you're taking a physical risk that's not giving you any direct kind of payoff. Because contrary to popular opinion today, this business hasn't changed in lots of ways. In some ways, has changed, evolved, but it hasn't. In the sense of the fact that in 1942, the only thing we were selling to this audience was the finish. Just the outcome, just the intent,
right?
Just who these wrestlers are. We were never selling what we do. We're always selling who and why. That hasn't changed. The problem is now that's gotten lost. The other thing that hasn't changed is in 1942, they just want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
They knew in 1942, not since the internet, they knew in 1942, this is pre-planned. It's a pseudo sport. They knew, but they wanted to believe. Just like when you read a book, when you watch a movie, you watch a TV show, you want to believe in what you're watching to where you can be entertained. Same thing, no different. And now we have to present it in that manner. How you go about presenting that, I don't care. Mm-hmm. You want to dive out of the ring? Stick a Roman candle up your ass and dive out of the ring. I don't care. But present it to me in the sense of the intent that you're using it to try to win and not lose. Not that you're just doing it to get a momentary reaction from an audience. Because again, the other aspect of this business that hasn't changed, this is the entertainment business. And unfortunately for these young people, they think they're paid for the task when they're not. They're not paid to wrestle. They're paid based on how many people showed up to see them wrestle. And they think they are paid based on their value of how good they are in the ring. No, you're not. You could be the greatest guy in the world. And listen, there are great MMA fighters. There are great boxers you've never heard of. They're great actors. They're amazing singers. They're tremendous performers. You will never know. And you know why you'll never know? Because they don't draw an audience.
Nobody cares.
And there are horrendous actors. Arnold Schwarzenegger is terrible. But why did he get to make and have a career that he did? Because he sold tickets.
Yeah.
And that, at the end of the day, that job's never changed. Their job is not to wrestle. Their job is to motivate you to want to leave your home, the comfort, safety, and security of your home, drive to this building, pay to get in, sit in a seat you don't want to sit in, around people you don't want to sit around, to watch them do their job. That is probably one of the most challenging jobs to do, and it is the most difficult to master and actually accomplish.
That's where, again, like the parallel wrestling and comedy, I've found especially.
very much the same.
And then radio people just seem to have that same mentality too. I mean, you look at us, we sit in a room and talk to nobody, and hope that it gets over, right?
You're there to draw an audience.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not there to play music. You're not there to man a station. You're there to draw an audience. And if you don't draw an audience, you're not going to be a disc jockey for very long.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have to find another line of work.
Al, I could have a million questions for you.
I mean, myself, I do magic for the blind now, so. So don't have to practice much, but
I'm giving you this one. Yeah, sure. Take it.
They love card tricks. You just got to say ta-da after every trick.
Is this your card? Sure.
Yeah. It's like, is this your card? I don't know. Ta-da. Oh, my God. How do you do it? So
I guess the biggest question I can ask you now, too, for everybody who's listening, because we have wrestlers and fans that listen to the show, is if people want to come, and actually a buddy of mine, Isaac Scorpius, just came down.
Yeah.
He worked some shows for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got other friends that have come through OVW over the years here, but when it comes to OVW today, I mean, people know the history of the company. Some people know the transitions and changes throughout the years. But if people want to get noticed by an Al Snow and maybe even get booked on an OVW show or even come down and train or something like that, is that still an opportunity for people?
Yeah, absolutely. But I have three things. They're really easy. One, first and foremost, they just got to look the part. They got to show up and they got to be marketable. They got to walk through the curtain, and the minute they walk through the curtain, you and the audience go, you know what? That guy could do something. That's all I ask. All I ask is you invest time, money, and effort into yourself, because you're asking me to invest my time, money, and effort into you. Simple as that. Second, are you instructable? Are you directable? Are you teachable? If you are, we're going to get along just fine. And three, you're not a cancer in the locker room. And you understand this is a business. It is not a hobby. You're not approaching this like it's beer league softball. This is not a joke. This is how I've made my living for nearly 44 years now. So I don't need you to come in and be like, give me the lip service that everybody does of, oh, this is all I've ever wanted to do. Because the first thing I'm going to say to you, and the first thing I've said to hundreds of people that have said that to me over the years, we'll see. Because I'm going to judge you by what you knew, not what you say. And I have lots and lots now, right now, in OVW, lots of talent that I use on a pretty regular basis. Tell me that, this is all I would eat, sleep. No, you won't. Because I have a ring with Doug Bash, who was a former WWE talent, here to help you, to instruct you, for you to practice and to train and to develop your skills. You know how many show up? Not many. And that now demonstrates just exactly how much of a desire and a passion you really have.
I have a question about that I'm going to ask you off the air.
You can ask it on the air.
Okay, well, I will. I just don't want to think that I'm hooking it into this here, and I might leave this in, I might not.
Okay.
So I've been doing radio for 20 years.
Sure.
Like I said, I've been around wrestling longer than that. I had a pretty wicked back injury working a retail job, actually, and that kind of shut down bumping for me. And I was training and doing pretty well, but it didn't work out. Radio has been my life for 20 years. About 3 years ago now? Yeah, 3 years ago, Brett and his sons started dungeon wrestling up in Calgary.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
We're in the old Victoria Pavilion. Like, for a kid that grew up on Stampede Wrestling like me, it's like a dream. So I'm doing this wrestling radio show across the country, and I sit down with Brett and Dallas at the time, and Brett says to me after the interview, he says, I think you should be the voice for this thing.
Oh, that's great.
I've wanted to be a pro wrestling announcer and commentator my entire life. I'm a ring announcer. I'm kind of okay at it, I think.
Yeah.
I maybe even pretty good, but we'll see. If they're in the world of wrestling and wrestlers who are marketable and whatnot, what does a guy like me have to do? Because I've traveled across this country to ring announce, to like setting up lights. I'm not even on the card tonight. I don't care. I'll be a radio guy to do a charity presentation here later on. But other than that, I'm making sure that everybody's lit tonight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. I love the business, and I'm being one of those guys right now. But I've got enough behind me that's saying, Al, if you ever need a guy and I can work out a plane ticket to OVW, I'd do it.
Right.
Because I'm either just that nuts or just, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's an outlier, but to me, it's like, okay, wrestlers, obviously, that's the big thing, but...
Sure.
Do you even know the answer? And not to say that you wouldn't,
well,
but...
I don't know the 100% the answer, but, like, the advice I can give you, like, with an opportunity like, that Brett wants you to do commentary is... be aware that the commentator is a very important, integral part of the presentation, because it's your job now to sell the product, which are the wrestlers themselves, and to help present it as seamlessly as possible as an actual sporting event.
Yes, sir.
That it's a actual combat, physical contest every time these guys step in the ring, regardless of whether, it's some ridiculous stipulation or, about the match. You are now going to be the guy that's helping to sell the idea to the audience and allow them even that much more to believe that they're watching a sporting event. And that's why JR was always so phenomenal, was because he was a fan himself, so that came through. His emotion, his reactions, his belief came through and made it easier for a fan to believe in what was happening in the ring, and it's the consequence of it.
He's on my short list of people I'd love to get an air check in front of and just say, you know what, tear it apart, please.
Right. And he'd be, he would be direct with you. He would be constructive. He would be direct, and he would be encouraging. I've known JR for a long time, and and the wisdom from all the years of his experience, you can really tell and hear in his voice when he's, every once in a while on social media, I'll see a video where, Conrad is interviewing JR, asking him about so-and-so, or asking about this person, or asking about that person. And he's very direct.
Yeah.
And, and very, and then you go, you know what? Yeah, he's right. That makes sense,
Well, that goes back to the whole coachable thing, too. I mean, in my job, people hate getting air checks. They hate getting feedback because it's a very personal delivery,
of course, right? And it is here, too, yeah.
But that's just it. I mean, I really didn't want to include this part in the interview because it almost sounds like I'm shilling trying to get, but I'm really not. I'll do that when we're done.
Okay.
but in all seriousness, though, that was the thing. Like, I asked Brett flat out, I said, what do you want me to do when I do this? Because, I mean, I've called stuff before, no problem.
Right.
But what do you, and his only piece of advice to me, because he said, I'm not an announcer, but the one thing I can tell you is that you got to make that finish the biggest thing you talk about.
You got to make all of it. Everyone's objective is to make it as easy to believe for the audience as possible. That's what a work is. That's something that has been lost, is the definition of what exactly the term to work is. Work a wrestling match. A work is a con, it's a sham. It's your ability to make someone believe a lie, something that's not true. Well, there's only one lie, and that we're actually out there trying to compete and win. Well, that's what they want. The audience wants to believe the lie, and they want it to be as easy as possible. No one comes here, no one tonight, no one in any show comes and goes, you know what, I want to sit here and worry about what I have to do tomorrow. I want to worry that I got to get up for work. I want to worry that I'm going to pay the gas bill late next week because I'm going to spend the money to come here and to bring my wife and kids. They want to come here and believe and forget, and they want to believe in you. Yeah. That's the key. That is the unmitigated most important thing that you have to do, is you have to get them to believe in who you are. If they believe in who you are, they'll believe in anything you say, and they'll believe in anything you do. Period. And that's not just with wrestling, that's with life. And to be political, check all the politicians. That's the only thing they do, is they try to get you to believe in who they are, because then you'll believe in anything they say, and you'll believe and support anything they do.
Wow. You know what, Al? I appreciate you taking the time here.
Sure, yeah.
You know what? I look forward to seeing what goes on here tonight, of course. And
probably not much.
Well,
for me,
the one thing I have to close on. The best Pop-Tart is...
raspberry. I really I have an obsessive personality, so I go through like things. Pop-Tarts now for a while have been pretty big on the list.
I'm watching you doing these huge athletic feats, this huge weight training. You're doing all the stuff like the big hammers, like Iron Sheik and everything else, and wearing a I Heart Pop-Tarts tank. And I was like,
did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah. I do have I have a I Heart Pop-Tarts shirt.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring you some today, but I want to make sure what flavor it was, because I mean that can set somebody in the wrong mood too.
Like chocolate. Sometimes I get on a chocolate. The chocolate. Yeah.
Look at me. Do I know the chocolate? Yeah.
I'm a little up in the air on the s'mores ones. Sometimes I'll be okay, but not so much. But raspberry's always a winner. Blueberry, sometimes cherry. I'll go that way too.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Wow, how progressive of you.
Always looking to blaze a new trail,
Al, really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to catch up, and we'll talk again, hopefully.
Yeah, can't wait.
My thanks to Al Snow for a great conversation and for putting up with me presenting my resume to him. Thanks to you for that as well. Again, it was something I was going to try and talk to him about after the interview, but I'm glad that it is actually in there, because I feel often, too many times, people don't talk about how they get opportunities or how things really happen. And I figured, you know what? You got to hear how it happens right there. What's my next step? I don't know. I still love what I'm doing as far as radio goes, but everyday wrestling comes up. I'm there for it, and I don't know if it's just the older I get, the more I love doing it. But I love talking about it with you as well. Thanks to Dave Meltzer for his insight. Thanks to Kevin Jesus for our first Have Your Say segment on the show. And we'll do it all again coming up next week as we get ready for WWE's Perth version of Crown Jewel. AEW will have a bunch of stuff on the way, and we'll talk more about TNA's visit to Alberta. But that does it for me this week. Until next time, as always, thanks so much for listening and letting me do what I do. If you want to support the show, CelebrateWrestling.com. Until next time, play safe, drive safe. Be seeing ya.
McGuire on Wrestling. Online and on the radio. Listen to the show Mondays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time at CKXU.com, wherever you get your podcasts, and at McGuireShow.com.